In the last video, we introduced the basal phyla that will dominate the ecosystems of Carlin 5. As of now, the clades are simple, relying on filter feeding, and are mostly sessile organisms, yet have huge potential for complexity. Today, we are going to further talk about the rise of more complex life and a major evolution that will initiate an explosion of diversity: predators. The Pacifican period is a stable era, where most of the species are slow and passive feeders. In this period, microbial mats dominate the seafloor. They are a muddy layer made up of layers upon layers of different microbes, especially anaerobic bacteria and eukaryotes. These mats are a vital food source for the multicellular life at this point. On the top layer, where photosynthetic bacteria and algae are located. This layer has high oxygen content, and as one goes deeper, the more anoxic the layers become. This is due to the usage of oxygen by aerobic microbes. These microbes uses up oxygen and expel waste such as urea and ammonia to the lower layers. The lower layers house anaerobic bacteria and eukaryotes, which will fix this waste and turn them to the upper layers, recycling them. This steady balance allows for microbial mats to flourish, but it is soon to be disrupted by a new innovation: burrowing. A nuperdiated pseudofolian evolved the thick integument and a muscular tissue band, which enables them to dig through the thick microbial mat. They also form a true gut with a mouth and anus, which enables them to devour the microbial mat as they dig and expel wastes at the end. Oxygen is a very toxic substance for anaerobic microbes. As burrowing allowed oxygen to infiltrate the microbial mat, this would cause the microbial mats to recede. As the microbial mats begin to regress, the lower layers of the seafloor become more sandy and sedimentary. This event is similar to what happened in the Ediacaran period. As the food source of most benthic organisms started to decrease, they began to look for other sources of food. A clade of hexaformes, known as hexagonians, which fed on the microbial mat, now have to find a new food source as the seabed turned sedimentary. These hexagonians began preying on soft-bodied pseudofolians or even other hexagonians. One of these hexagonian species evolved to elongate their pointed sides. As they elongate, they also evolve sensory organs to better detect their prey. They will soon become the nixostelans. Their elongated arms allows them to reach their prey item and grab hold of them, and their radiolated mouths begin to centralize to easily eat their prey. As predators such as the nixostelans become a problem for the hexagonians, some hexagonians evolve a shell. These shells are made out of calcium carbonate, which makes it difficult to digest and break down, which discourages predators from eating them. These shelled hexagonians, dubbed the hexatestates, are the first to be selected for protection against the predator. Many soft-bodied brachiogastrans also evolved to calcify their body to protect themselves from predators. While nixostelans prey on pseudofolians and vulnerable brachiogastrans, a new way to avoid predators emerged. Recall that pseudofolians and brachiogastrans have planktonic swimming larvae. Some species were selected where the larvae is more dominant. This is called neoteny. Neoteny is a phenomenon where a larva or juvenile retains its traits into adulthood. As with this case, their ability to swim. Swimming allows for an organism to escape their predators as well as enabling them to move to new locations. Brachiogastrans that evolved to retain their swimming cilia become the campanagastrans, which look similarly to kinetophores. while the pseudofolians evolved to swim by undulating their bodies like eels. They have two types of undulation, horizontal and vertical. We will call them nectofolians. These new organisms will take on new niches in the pelagic ecosystems of Carlin 5, feeding on plankton and algae in the water. The nectofolians are an interesting clade. Not only they are the only swimming bilateral organisms in this period, their body changed to fit to this new kind of lifestyle. Like their burrowing pseudofolian cousins, they convergently evolve muscles so they can escape predation, and they develop thicker integument for added protection. They even develop a complete gut with mouth and anus. Some nectofolians have gaping mouths to consume plankton, while others have anterior cilia that are used to catch plankton while swimming. They use two modes of swimming, lateral undulation and ciliary undulation. In lateral undulation or horizontal undulation, they swim from side to side like eels, which is slow but energy efficient style of swimming. Ciliary undulation or vertical undulation uses the undulation of the cilia for the organism to move. These cilia are connected by a membrane. They resemble marine flatworms on Earth, swimming in a wave-like fashion. As their swimming lifestyle is more oxygen demanding, these organisms' cilia evolve as outer gill membranes to effectively receive oxygen as they move. As an added bonus of the evolution of muscle, they will also have a heart-like chamber in a circulatory system to able to distribute oxygen nutrients in their body. With all these innovations, it makes the organism complex, so they evolved a simple lobed brain to effectively distribute the work of the nerves around the body. One lobe for sensory, another for movement, and another for coordination. Plus the nectofolians filter feed mostly on larvae and plankton. They are still simple swimming animals with simple organs, so they evolve complexities immediately as they arise. Two lineages will emerge. One lineage of nectofolians that used the vertical undulation had their swimming cilia replaced with paddle-like structures. This organism will also have a chitinous body which gives them protection as well as structure. Derived from their forward cilia, they evolved forward appendages used to catch creatures and deliver them to their radulated mouth. Their respiratory cilia will become internalized into spiracles to avoid damage and will have compound eyes for better visibility of their surroundings. We will call them arthrocorpus for their chitin body. These arthrocorpus will take on the same niche as the anomalocaris on Earth, catching their prey using their forward appendages, becoming the first apex predators. While their arthrocorpus cousins took on the role as nectonic predators, the second lineage remained as filter feeders. They have gaping mouths to get as much plankton as they can. They will not need a chitinous exoskeleton like their arthrocorpus cousins. They require flexibility and maneuverability to escape predation. Instead, they will have a rough sandpaper-like skin, giving them protection as well as allowing them to keep their flexibility. To be even more maneuverable, they will internalize their gills to decrease drag and will have a hydrodynamic body shape. They will have 3 eyes, one facing forward and 2 facing laterally to detect predators. This new clade of nectons will be called the Pisiaformes for their fish-like appearance. These two lineages take on different niches in the pelagic ecosystem, making this period of the Marianan explosion more dynamic. but the Physiformes will take on a completely new route in their evolution. While filter feeding is one such niche that was taken by the Physiformes, however, to escape predators such as the Artocorpus, they need to become faster and more coordinated. Their brains and sensory organs will become more complex and their muscle coordination becoming more streamlined. As their body becomes more complex, it will soon give rise to something that is analogous to deuterostomes, where during their embryonic development, the feet of the cells are flexible, allowing them to have a more complex and flexible development. Soon, these pisiformes will evolve a notochord, which is a rod-like structure that serves as the primary structural support. This notochord will also become a regulatory organ, which allows for creation of complex organ structures, especially the brain. This new innovation is similar to how deuterostomes, especially the chordates, came to be. This new clade will be dubbed the monoregularians, a convergence of deuterostomes. We will also dub this new species Pseudospinocorpus under the monoregularia clade. As the prey items become more difficult to catch, Anixostella clade began to change their shape. They evolved to have a more directional movement in the body plan that is pointed into one direction. The eyes were used to be found all over their arms, but in this clade, their eyes are concentrated at a single direction. They will also lose their 4 redundant mouths, only having 2 mouths left to form a complete gap. Their redundant mouths will become the gills and postsensory organs, while their anus will move posteriorly, elongating their stomach for better digestion. Their 2 mouths will elongate further, while their lateral arms will become used for movement, becoming the legs of this organism. They will also have eyes on their forward-facing side to make them able to hone in on their prey. The evolution of a more centralized brain bring about the obvious conclusion to this clade from radially symmetrical animals to bilateral symmetry. These will become the biformatas, for their 2 arm-like tentacles used for catching prey. The biformatans will evolve into 3 clades, one with a chitinous exoskeleton, the saxopods, second with a completely soft body, diomalacopods, and the third with cartilaginous endoskeleton, the chondrobacid. We will discuss about the 3 clades on the next episode. As we discussed about these organisms, they are mostly small, up to 12 centimeters long, but they pale in comparison to the largest fauna ever recorded during this period. The modularis are colonial organisms of the tubularis clade. Despite looking alike one organism, they consist of numerous individuals, each are genetically identical to one another. They move by using jet propulsion. This allows them to move across the pelagic waters, helping them filter feed on plankton. The individuals in the colony move in sync, giving them a higher speed than they are individually. Slow they may be, but their lifestyle is supported by their algal symbionts, which gives them energy passively. And their cellulose-like modularin are indigestible by most life. One clade of modularis took a step further with their colonial lifestyle, where individuals in the colony specialize into different zooids that represent their specialization. One group of zooids, called gastrozoids, produce digestive juices which digest food for the colony. Another group of zooids are specialized for jet propulsion, called nectozoids. Other zooids only act as structure for the colony. This specialization of zooids is similar to Earth's siphonophores that form colonies that consist of specialized zooids. Nectons, such as the Artocorpus and the Pisciformis, use them as shelter for traveling. Since the modularis are protected by modularin and nectons can't digest it, they can only eat on the parasites or steal their prey. Micromodularis are a clade of colonial modularis where individual zooids are smaller than 5 centimeters. They mainly live in the shallow continental shelves where nutrients from nutrient upwelling are common. Some micromodularis even attach themselves into a substrate of coastal areas, moving in amoeba-like fashion while keeping themselves attached to the sedimentary layer under a strong current. They evolved like this because they want to maximize the production of energy of their algal symbiotes. Megamodularis are the larger cousins of micromodularis. They have larger zooids with sizes up to 30 cm on average. They form massive colonies that range from 10 to 20 meters in length. They take on a more pelagic niche with their huge sizes. Their massive size is due to their filter feeding lifestyle, where an increase of size makes them able to catch more plankton using their nematocyst-like cells or mucus-secreting cells. The Megamodularis has 3 major forms. Gulomara is the smallest form. They resemble Portuguese man of war with pneumatophores and stinging tentacles. They are mostly found in the continental shelf. Tubulara are tube-shaped cornids. They resemble pyrosomes and take on a more pelagic niche away from the continental shelf. Their tube shape makes them cruise as they use jet propulsion. Within the tube are full of brush-like hairs used to filter plankton as they move. They don't rely much on their algal symbiotes, while some abandoned algae to live in the mesopelagic regions of the ocean. The largest form are the Megamodulara. It has many pneumatophores, mainly at the sides that lets it float on the surface to maximize the amount of sunlight for their algal symbiotes. It has a very long and brushing tail, which is used to filter feed as well. These Megamodularis are a living ecosystem by itself, as their size allows them for various organisms such as nectopholians and larvae to live inside its bushy cavity. They can shed dozens of zooids every day, which are eaten by the nectonic animals, and new zooids are replenished within a day. This characteristic allowed nectons to migrate across the vast oceans as they shelter within the Megamodulara cavity. When under stormy conditions, Megamodulara will turn into a tubular form where it will sink down the water column to avoid strong waves of the stormy ocean. As life becomes more complex and more niches being exploited, there are more opportunities to exploit others for their own gain. A clade of small hexagonians begin to discreetly attaching on larger organisms such as hexagonians and the biformatans. First, they only use them to travel to farther areas without expending too much energy. Then, they enter the gut system of these larger organisms. They feed on the ingested material at first, then they slowly started absorbing the nutrients within their host systems. This hexagonian clade will be called the platyhexans. They resemble flatworms or flukes that reabsorb oxygen from their host's body, weakening them. Platyhexans need ways to spread themselves as they are mostly confined within their host. So, they evolved to be ingested by their host so that they may reproduce. In order to do that, They have to lay their eggs on materials that are likely to be eaten by their target host. The hosts will unwittingly ingest the eggs, then they will hatch within and will begin parasitizing them, and there they will complete their life cycle and exit the host where they will lay their eggs. This is a very simple schematic of a parasitic life cycle, as parasites have a very convoluted life cycle, but the platyhexan clade will be the first clade of parasites in Carlin 5. Parasitism is beneficial for the health of the ecosystem because it controls the population of their host. As if there is a great diversity of parasites, the healthier the ecosystem is than an ecosystem with fewer parasites. Now, we'll look again at the burrowing pseudofolians that we discussed earlier. They have become their own clade after the sedimentation of the seafloor. Now that the seafloor consists largely of sandy layers, sheltering becomes difficult, but burrowing becomes much easier. These pseudofolians then burrow deeper into the sediments or began to travel across the seafloor in search of detritus in the sedimentary layer. These new mobile pseudofolians are the last remaining pseudofolian link, becoming the vermidiatans. Since pseudofolians lost their sedentary lifestyle, they are effectively extinct, becoming one of the first major clades to go extinct. This phenomenon of extinction, where a lineage is slowly replaced by a more fit descendants, it is called lineage replacement. These new vermidiatans are long flatworm-like organisms that roam around the seafloor. They feed on detritus or dead animals. They also have become parasites of some animals. Worm-like organisms are essential in the ecosystems as they break down detritus, wastes, and rotting corpses. Detritivores are an essential part of the ecosystem, recycling nutrients into simpler materials and returning them into the ecosystem. They will become the most diverse detritivore animals in this ecosystem, found on various sediments around the planet. This mirrors nematodes on Earth. Now that we have tackled the radiation of the basal clades, we now have to create a cladogram with the Asterformes, Noperdiatan, and Tubularis clades to get a better grasp of their diversity. The Asterformes is a very diverse clade, so first we must talk about the Brachiogastrans. Simply, we have two clades from this group, the Eubrachiogastrans, the ones that create reefs, and the Campanagastrans that float in the pelagic waters feeding on plankton. These two lineages take niches similar to Cnidarians on Earth. Next is the Hexaformes that is made up of hexagonians and Nyxostellans, where hexagonians are slow-moving detritivores and Nyxostellans being the benthic predators. Hexagonians are split into three groups: Ahexatestates, hexagonians without a shell; Hexatestates, hexagonians with a shell; and Platyhexa, the parasitic sister group. The Nyxostellans are another group under the Hexaformes clade. They are split into two clades, the Eunyxostellans and the Diplobrachids, where Nyxostellans retain their elongated appendages, while Diplobrachids are the Nyxostellans that have a pseudo-bilateral symmetry, a common ancestor to all biformatans. Next phyla we will talk about are the Noperdiatans. This is where the now extinct pseudofolians reside. They also have a sister clade called the Microdiatans, which are the neotonous planktonic swimmers of the ocean. The next clade are the derived groups of the pseudofolians, the Nectafolians, and the Vermidiatans. This group are the first Noperdiatans to have a true gut, giving them a clade name of Eugastrans, where Nectopholians are the pelagic swimmers, while the vermidiatans are the benthic detritivores. Right after Nectopholians, we have the diapraturans, which are the most derived swimming organisms which replace the Nectopholians in the pelagic waters, which include the Artocorpus and the supergroup of Monoregularians that include the Aspinacorpus and the Pseudospinacorpus. Finally, we will look at the tubularis clade. This clade is defined by the defining picture producing cellulose-like molecule called modularin. The Archaetubularis was the first class to arise, but they were completely replaced by the Myotubularis. The Myotubularis will also get outclassed by their colonial descendants, the Modularis, which consist of Micromodularis and Megamodularis. This cladogram will give us an overview on the evolution of life, and as life evolves, this cladogram will expand as new clades will arise in this planet. Next episode, we are going to explore the many organisms that inhabit the Marianan period and the end of the Marianan period.